Joe Giannetti joins me once again, and this time the newly crowned top-ranked lightweight in all of New England, according to Travis, Steve, and Lars there. That's quite an accomplishment. How do you feel about that, bud?
It's pretty cool, man. It's weird, too, because, I normally don't think too much of local rankings, but I don't know. Maybe just because everybody else is looking into it so much, it's just really cool. And it's maybe it's just because I'm number one on these rankings, but I don't know. It's just these rankings feel like they mean more, and it might just because I know the people making them have been around the MMA community so much.
What did you think of all of the rankings? Did you get a chance to look at all the different weight classes, and what was your overall assessment?
Yeah, we went over a couple of them the other day. I think they did a really good job. I mean, obviously it's not easy. There was a couple that I was like, oh, maybe he should be up, maybe he should be down. But you're going to find that no matter who does what rankings. But yeah, I think they killed it. And I'm glad to be at the top.
Yeah. Did you hear anybody saying that they felt that maybe you and Manny should have been flip-flopped, or did you feel like that was right where things should be? You won, him too.
I heard a couple people saying that Manny should be number one. And honestly, if he was a real 55er, that he probably would be. But he's not a 55er. I mean, obviously was successful at 55, but he's not a 55er. So if he was a real 55er, then yeah, he probably would be number one.
Yeah, that's a good point. Was there anyone else in any of the weight classes that really stood out to you that you thought, well, maybe they should have been ranked higher, or maybe they were ranked too low? Tell me what you think about that.
When I was looking at the women's pound for pound, I thought Danielle could be a little bit higher. We were talking about some potential matchups in the future. I think it'd be cool to see Hillary Rose and Danielle fight. Hillary's number 2. Danielle's way at the bottom at number 8. So I don't know if that makes Hillary less inclined to take it, but I think it's a hell of a fight. And I think Danielle takes it and takes that number 2 spot.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that these guys are doing it. I think it just adds a little bit more excitement to the MMA game here in New England, and who doesn't like that? We all love the fight game, so I'm happy for it, and I'm happy to see that you're in the top spot. Well deserved, so congratulations there. I did watch the video of you and Mr. Polvere, the Cage Titans show the other day. That went really well. That's a really interesting podcast, the show that he does there. Tell me, how are things with you and him and the Cage Titans promotion, and do you feel like that might be where your next fight will be if you don't get that call up to the UFC?
We're good. I mean, he just opened Coops back up, and he's kind of turning his attention back onto Cage Titans. I wouldn't say back onto it, but more onto it now that the business will be running fine. He's the GM over there, so he's got Coops running smooth. And I think Cage Titans is probably going to be my next fight if they don't call me for the contender or a last minute UFC fight. But I mean, if that's the case, I hope that we can get a Cage Titans card off in July. And it depends on gyms opening up, and it depends on these fighters staying ready, man. I know I sound like a broken record, but I keep posting, I keep telling these guys, get in shape and stay ready. And it's not for them. It's completely selfish. It's so that Cage Titans can put on a card and I can fight, because nobody's putting on a card for one fight. But, we've got 16, 17, 18 fighters that are all like, oh, I'm in shape, I'll fight. Now we can start putting a card together when the gyms open up and the state allows it.
Did Polvere say anything about if he would host an event without any fans?
Yeah, he was throwing around ideas. He said if it was possible with the restrictions and no fans and fighters were in shape, then yeah, he'd love to put a card together in July. It's just a matter of if it can happen.
Yeah, depending on what happens, because it's all remain to be seen here. Is Cage Titans the only regional promotion that you would consider fighting for right now? If you got the right matchup at another promotion, would you consider that? Or is that your home base? You want to fight there unless the UFC comes calling?
I mean, if Cage Titans was, I don't know how it would happen, but if, say, Cage Titans was unable to put on a show and another promotion was like, hey, we've got this fighter that needs a fight and it's on this date and it's before Cage Titans next date, I would consider it, just because I'm looking to stay active. I wasn't super active last year, and I had such a killer plan to stay active this year, and obviously a wrench got thrown in that. So I'm just trying to rally off fights and just show the UFC like, hey, it might not be for you guys, but I'm fighting as much as I can.
Yeah. Did you know that you set the fashion world on fire last night with the t-shirt turtleneck?
Dude, I saw that. I had no idea. But I mean, hey, it worked. It's a good look. It has to be Kinmoy approved though for it to actually take off.
What was that? I was making a joke, and clearly it didn't land. I got a quirky sense of humor. But tell me, what exactly was that you had on there?
So it's a face mask that I wear when I go to work, and so it covers my up to my nose and then all the way down my neck, because you need a face covering when you go everywhere. So I'm too lazy to take it off. I just pull it down to my neck.
Hey, well, you know what? It looked good. It got me thinking. I was staring, like, what is that? Like, I figured it must be something like that. It couldn't be an actual t-shirt turtleneck, but that's where my head went. So
That
what
might
can I
have
say?
to be my next shirt. A t-shirt turtleneck.
Hey, man, I'm telling you what, you're a trendsetter. You can make some money off that. You never know, JoJo. Tell me, I haven't spoken to you for a little while, obviously with the pandemic. What have you been up to? I know you said you just went back to work. Tell me what life has been like for you.
Honestly, minus financially, it's been pretty awesome. I wake up every day and train. I rest and I train, and then I go to bed and do it all over again. I've been training more now than before the pandemic because there was nothing to do. I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. So, I got the setup in my garage, and I've been training really, really hard. I've been improving still. I've been adding new things to my game. I've gotten in better shape. I've gotten stronger. And maybe it's what I needed to force me to improve.
Have you had anybody coming over and getting any work in with you, or has it been primarily yourself, like hitting the bag and doing cardio?
It's primarily been myself, but I have had a few people. Justin Burrell came by. We got some grappling in. Mike Danella came for some sparring. Mike Albert came for some sparring. Just different looks so I can get different feels. You can't work with one person too many times. It just becomes unauthentic.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you do the COVID swab to make sure that they're COVID free before you let them in the garage?
No, but I should probably.
Better safe than sorry. You never know. I mean, what people are doing nowadays to protect themselves from this pandemic and the COVID virus is pretty crazy. The UFC, they've been doing, I believe, that swab test every single day when fighters get down there. And I had it done like a year ago when I had to go to the walk-in clinic. It's no fun. Have you thought about what that would be like if you're in that shoes and you have to have that basically stuck out right into your skull?
Oh, it'd be horrible. Like, that's the only thing I've thought of is like, I'm not worried. Like, my weight's down. If they called me for a last minute fight, I'm not worried about the weight cut. I'm not worried about preparation. I'm worried about getting that swab up my nose because I would be such a bitch about it.
It's no fun. I feel like a lot of people feel the exact same way. Now tell me, I have you seen any good things on Netflix or any movies? Give me some suggestions that to watch. I mean, we still have a little bit of time left before things are open back up fully. I'm sure you must have a couple suggestions.
Honestly, the only thing I watched Tiger King. I watched it later than everybody else, so I wasn't like big on it when the trend was a thing. And then I just started watching another one with my girlfriend. It was Dusty Valley Restorations or something like that on Netflix. So basically, it's this guy who he has millions of dollars in his life savings, and he's an older guy, and he was like, you know what? He's like, I want to restore old cars. So he spent his entire life savings on a giant plot of land, thousands of beat up old cars from like the 60s, the 70s, and the 50s, and he bought a bunch of new equipment in a garage, and he's just flipping these cars, restoring all of them, and it's actually kind of crazy.
Wow. Okay, I'll have to check that out. I'm always looking for something new or different, to look at, especially nowadays with no live sports. I know you're a Red Sox fan. You like the Celtics too, I believe, right? All Boston sports. How are you dealing with that? I mean, not being able to watch the Sox here at the beginning of the season. The NBA is coming back. We're still hoping for baseball. How have you been able to manage with no live sports as far as team sports go?
I've been haunting over their social media. Every time they post a clip, I go down the rabbit hole just scrolling through. It was funny today, the restaurant we were cleaning, they had a lot of barbecue food and burgers and some beers that they were like selling. And I said to the guy I was working with, I go, man, it smells like when you're just outside Fenway Park, like waiting to go in, all the food and stuff. And I was like, I miss that smell.
Yeah.
Like I took advantage of it and I never thought about it, but I was like, I miss that.
Man, if you could only choose one to come back, let's say this drags, I mean, God forbid, into football season, and you can only have basketball, baseball, or football, what would you choose?
Like in person or on TV?
Either or.
Okay, if it was just I could go live, I'd say baseball. I feel like the experience is just more, and I appreciate it more when I'm there. On TV, I'd say basketball. I get way more into it when I'm at home.
Yeah. Do you think the Celtics have a shot when this league starts back up in late July? You think they actually can maybe make a run and win a chip?
I hope so. I'd like to say so.
Who's your favorite player on the team?
Jason Tatum. That dude's been crushing it. And what kills me is it's like this guy's out here killing it in the NBA before he was able to legally drink alcohol. Like, it's mind-blowing to me.
It really is. See, I'm a Tar Heels basketball fan, so when we drafted Tatum, he's a Dookie. I was like, but you know what? I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Jason Tatum is the man. He is a superstar to come. I really feel like he's going to be one of the next great ones here in the league.
I agree. It's really cool, and I'm also a Duke fan, so two birds, one stone.
Oh, there you go. Well, you guys always do well, and hopefully the Tar Heels will be back here soon. Now let's talk about this UFC lightweight division. Obviously, Khabib is stuck over in Russia right now. He can't make his way over to the States. However, Dana White did just have this fight island in Abu Dhabi. Maybe there's a chance to get him out over there. But, you got Conor on the shelf. You got Gaethje beating Ferguson there in that monster interim title fight. Collectively speaking, when you look at the UFC lightweight division, what are your overall thoughts of it right now?
I think it's very divided. I think that there's really no middle ground. Like, there's no middle road guys. I feel like there's all these guys that are either in the top or just about to be, and nobody knows their names yet. Or there's a bunch of guys that you're kind of like, I feel like you shouldn't be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. Do you think that Conor should stay at lightweight, or do you feel like, he's kind of messing up the division by wanting to go and fight at 170 or do super fights? Because at the end of the day, I mean, I know the belt is supposed to mean something, and you're seeing more super fights and BMF fights. And, it's kind of confusing for people who aren't hardcore fans as to what's going on, who's ranked where, why is this guy fighting there? What do you feel about that aspect as far as Conor in the division?
I honestly, it's so tough because I don't even think of Conor as a lightweight. I just think of and I hate to say it because I don't really like the guy. I just think of Conor as Conor. Like, he could be a featherweight for all I know. He could be a welterweight because he can do whatever he wants, and the UFC will try and make it happen. I'm glad that he's not in a position to hold up the division. I mean, we've got Gaethje and Khabib. They're gonna be fighting. It's looking like September. And neither of them are gonna sell out for Conor's money. Khabib's not gonna skip Gaethje to fight Conor again, and Gaethje's not gonna skip Khabib to fight Conor. They don't care about the money. They got money. They want the belt, and that's actually happening. So I think that the lightweight division is the smoothest running division right now.
Yeah. Who wins, Gaethje or Khabib?
I think Khabib. I mean, I hate to say it, I still think Tony's the guy, and I don't even know if Tony beats him. But if somebody were to beat him, I still think it's Tony, and we're never going to get to see that.
I feel bad for Tony in this regard, because I feel like he's a guy that feeds off of the fans, the excitement. He fights better, and I feel like when he fought Gaethje in an empty arena, that didn't do him any favors. I feel it played into Gaethje's hands, but what can you say? I mean, Gaethje really put on a masterful performance there.
Yeah, he looked great, man, and I'm really impressed with him because I hate to bash on guys, but I always use Poirier as an example. Poirier said for years, like, my striking's improving. I'm picking my shots. I'm slowing down. And then he rematches guys like Eddie Alvarez, and he's just still in there throwing bombs, not picking his shots. And people say he's improved. But you can say it, but you'll see it on fight night. Gaethje said it. I've improved. I'm picking my shots, and I'm not just going out there to bang. And he showed it against Ferguson. Nobody does that to Tony, and he went out there and did it for 5 rounds.
Yeah, it was really impressive. I can't wait for Gaethje and Khabib to happen. Hopefully that fight does come to fruition. And I mean, throw Ferguson in there too. If we got to have him in there to fight either one of those guys again, sign me up. That's really exciting. Now, we talked a little bit before the Abu Dhabi. That's Fight Island. How excited are you for this? You mentioned before Anderson Silva, Damian Maia. They're going back to the same area there. How pumped are you?
It's really cool, man. I mean, it's one of those things where I don't think the UFC has added something like this to their brand in so long. Like, I can't think of anything. So it's just cool. Like, it's almost another thing. Like, you're going to draw more fans in with this. One, we don't have any other sports going on right now. So even hearing about this, if sports come back, they weren't listening to anything about the NBA. So they heard about this. Now they're interested. They're in it for the long haul. So it's really cool. And I mean, if anybody gets hurt and they want to fly me to a random island in Abu Dhabi, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I know that's where a lot of people, including myself, feel like you should be on the doorstep of a short notice fight, stepping back into the UFC. I still don't understand. I can't wrap my head around the fact that you come in runner up on the Ultimate Fighter and they just let you walk. How close do you feel you are now to getting back and getting another shot?
I think it's weird to explain. I feel like I'm right there, and I feel like I'm where I was before the Ultimate Fighter. It's one of those things. There's really no formula. I could be a call away from the contender. I could be the call away from just picking up a last-minute fight. I really don't know. I mean, I know I'm on the radar, and that's all I need to motivate me. Because, like I said, I just want to fight, whether it's for the contender, for the UFC, for Cage Titans. I just want to punch somebody.
Have you had any dialogue with Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard, anyone there in the UFC to give you any significant hope that, okay, they're looking at me, there's a chance that I might get that call?
As of right now, honestly, just, every time I pitch my name in for last minute fights, I'm on social media all the time. So I try to be the first guy. Oh, this guy's hurt. Bang. My name's in there. You know what I mean? So, I'm not always the first name, obviously. But yeah, it's just one of those things where they're trying to figure out what's going on in the world, because the contender originally was supposed to start June 30th. And then they couldn't even match make for June 30th because of everything going on. They had 3 fights in 1 week. So that kind of postponed everything. So now, we'll probably see in the next couple of weeks what's going to happen. I mean, they're hoping for a contender in August. So I'm assuming July they start matchmaking fights. So, my birthday is July 5th. So if I party that weekend and on Monday got a phone call, hey, you're fighting in August, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, so contender series would make a lot of sense. They've done that with a couple of guys. They bring them back, they win, then they get into the UFC. Is that something where you really have your eyes on and hoping that we will see you in Vegas fighting at contender series maybe August?
It's just one of those things. I really don't care. I mean, a lot of people are like, no, you don't deserve to be on the contender. You should just be in the UFC. And I'm like, maybe, but if that's the way it's got to be, it's the way it's got to be. I mean, a fight's a fight. And like I said, people like, you could sign with this promotion. You could go here. No, I want to be in the UFC. So if I have to fight in the contender, then I'm fighting in the contender, and I'm going to win, and I'm going to get back in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the contender series as like a great opportunity, maybe the best opportunity to get in the UFC. If they were to call you and say, hey, we got a short notice fight, or hey, we're going to book you out a month or two from now, fight in contender series, that would make sense to me if I was in your shoes, to be the 100% the fight that I want to get in the UFC. Because you go in there, you fight in front of Dana White, you put on a great performance. How can they turn you down?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, as we saw on the show, I have no problem asking Dana for a bonus. So I mean, I'm looking to do the same thing. If I get back on the contender, I'm putting somebody out, whether it's with my hands or choking them out. Somebody's going to sleep, and I'm going to make Dana. He's going to know. He's going to know I want back in.
Give me a couple names, JoJo, either whether it's nationally, UFC fighters, or here regionally, someone that you'd like to fight that you feel like would make sense or at least be an exciting fight.
There's a couple guys I want to fight. Not all of them are super exciting. Everybody already knows I want to rematch Trizano. Whether it's my first fight back in the UFC, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years from now, I want to get that one back. It's not about being the Ultimate Fighter. It's about beating somebody I know I can beat. I want to get my hands on Paddy Pimblett, whether it's Cage Titans, Cage Warriors, or the UFC. That kid needs a good smack. There's plenty of fighters. Peter Barrett, I don't care if he gets cut after a loss and comes back to Cage Titans, or if they sign me and say, you're fighting this kid. He's one of those guys where I've tried to make peace with and is always running his mouth. So it's like, where I'm from, we settle it with fists. If we can't talk it out, we got to fight it out. And that's something that I haven't had the pleasure of doing. So I'd love to fight any of those guys.
Now, I remember seeing a little while back that you talked about trying to go out to AKA again and getting some work. And is that something that is basically just kind of put on hold right now during the pandemic? Or do you feel like maybe you'll be able to book a trip out there at some point soon?
So I'm trying to figure out how I would do it. So hopefully AKA will be opening up in the next couple of weeks. The governor over there is talking about gyms opening up, especially with DC getting back in camp now, and then Khabib in the next couple of months. It's just a matter of figuring out how I do it. I'm actually in the market for a new car soon, hopefully. So I was thinking about getting like a cargo van and then pimping out the inside and driving cross country. But I was doing the math with the mileage. It'd be a lot. And, it's financially a burden to fly out there, because then I need to rent a car. Then I need a place to stay. So, it's just trying to figure out a way to do it. But if I can, I'm for sure going out there for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so tell me, DC Stipe 2, it's officially booked. How do you see that trilogy fight going down?
I honestly think that if DC fights his fight and doesn't make the mistakes he made in the second one, I think he takes that fight handedly. I mean, props to Stipe. He beat DC fair and square. And it wasn't even one of those things where like DC let off the gas. He just made a mistake. He was fighting incorrectly, and Stipe capitalized. But I don't see anything that would make me be like, oh yeah, Stipe wins that fight. DC won every minute of their rematch and then lost. And then he won the first fight. So, I mean, the evidence points towards DC. I'm obviously super biased, but the evidence also backs my argument.
Yeah, DC's the man. I'm really looking forward to that trilogy fight. I really like both of those guys, inside and outside of the cage. And DC might be my new favorite commentator, cage side. He's knowledgeable. He speaks very well, and I like his excitement there when he's calling the fight. So he really has a bright future regardless.
Yeah, for sure, man. He has a blast doing it. I mean, it's the same thing he does in the gym. Somebody gets taken down with a big takedown, he starts talking shit, gets all excited, gets everybody into it.
Yeah, no doubt. He must be a lot of fun to be around. I'm jealous you get that opportunity to be around one of the greats, one of the all-time greats the sport of mixed martial arts has ever seen. Jojo, always a pleasure catching up with you, buddy. I feel like it's been way too long, and I'm excited to see that you're hoping to have a fight here in the somewhat near future of this summer. Before I let you go, if you want to plug your social media or if there's anyone you want to thank, the floor is yours.
It's Giannetti MMA on every platform, 2 N's and 2 T's. I got to specify that. And I mean, everybody that's come by the garage, anybody that, I've honestly had a couple fans just send me some money randomly, like, hey, go get some new gear. Hey, put this towards cleaning supplies for the garage. That stuff means the world to me because it does help, especially when I'm now just getting back to work. All the shit going on, just be nice to your neighbor. That's just the way I could put it. Obviously, there's a bunch of atrocities, a bunch of shit going wrong. People are being mistreated. But just treat everybody how you want to be treated. I learned it in preschool. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basic human etiquette, right? I echo those sentiments 100%. Again, buddy, always a pleasure catching up. Let's do it again soon.
Definitely. Appreciate it, man.